LeBron James is no doubt a superstar in the game of basketball. In fact, he has well established himself as one of the greatest in the game, sitting amongst players like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Bill Russell. Interestingly, LeBron has also made a crazy amount of money since he joined the NBA at the age of 18. Since 18, he has made over $340 million in the course of his career. Currently playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, the superstar is worth over $500 million. He also has a shoe deal with Nike, a deal which is reportedly worth over $1 billion. And LeBron James knows how to invest this money. And he understands that while it is cool to play on one of the best basketball teams in the world, it is kind of cooler when you own one. Just recently, it was confirmed that the player was now part of the ownership group of the Boston Red Sox, a baseball team. According to multiple reports, LeBron James bought an undisclosed amount of Fenway Sports Group shares. And this group is also the parent company of the reigning English Premier champions, Liverpool Football Club. Welcome to Courtside, and in this video, we're exploring the recent huge money move LeBron James has made and other NBA stars doing the same. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and also share this video with your friends. The Boston Red Sox haven't had the best last few years. In fact, the team went from being favorites to losing their MVP, Mookie Betts. The last few years haven't been the best for them, but the addition of an athlete like LeBron James to the ownership of the team might be a promising change. Interestingly, this isn't the first time James will be getting acquainted with the Fenway Sports Group. It all started in 2011 when James bought a reported share of 2% of the Liverpool Football Club franchise. Since Fenway Sports Group owns both Liverpool and the Boston Red Sox, it was easier for the basketball star to join the ownership board. Not only is this a huge win for LeBron James as an individual, it's also a huge win for black people across the world. This is because Maverick Carter, LeBron's business partner, is also set to become a partner of Fenway Sports Group. When this happens, James and Carter will be the first black partners on the ownership board. Today, the Red Sox are estimated to be worth around $3 billion. However, the addition of LeBron to the big table might not totally sit with them. First of all, as a basketball player, James has dashed the hopes of Boston Celtics team, preventing them from winning a championship in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But it gets worse. He plays for the Lakers, a team most Celtics fans consider their worst enemies. And to make things even worse, the player has been spotted wearing a New York Yankees hat several times, and you can already guess that Red Sox fans aren't doing so well with the news of his ownership. But there's one thing we're certain of, and it's the fact that the club would have no right to scream poor during free agency. It's quite sad that they had to cut off major players from the team all in a bid to cut payroll. Just 2 years ago, the Red Sox were on fire, but now it seems like the fire has ravaged everything great the team once stood for. You should also know that this part ownership quickly drew reactions from fans on Twitter. One user wrote, "Franchises that LeBron James owns: Boston Red Sox, Liverpool, Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors, the GOAT on and off the pitch." Another user mocked that this is the perfect time for LeBron James to drive the Red Sox to the ground. The user wrote, "Bron buying the Red Sox and running them right into the ground by trading their best players to the Dodgers." However, there are already a few questions that LeBron needs to answer. Since he had a share in Liverpool, why didn't he just buy shares with another company, one not affiliated with FSG? But this is a very smart move from James. By owning an undisclosed amount of shares in FSG, his share in Liverpool increases. Since he owns 2% of the club when he bought it in 2011, you can be assured it has increased to a better percentage since he completed his deal with the Red Sox. All of these are made possible due to the $750 million investment that was made by Redbird Capital Partners. What makes this deal even better is the fact that LeBron now owns other subsidiaries under FSG. The subsidiaries include Roush Fenway Racing, Fenway Sports Management, and NESN. Now that James has a number of teams partly in his name, perhaps he can make his dream of owning an NBA team come true next. It is also quite fascinating to know that LeBron James isn't the only NBA star who partly owns a sports team. There are a number of other NBA stars, both retired and still playing, who own major stakes in teams around the world. Let's find out who some of them are. If you say Michael Jordan is the best basketball player to ever grace the court, not so many fans would argue with you. He has silenced critics and established himself as the king of the game. In spite of his retirement, he has still called shots, and his most prestigious was becoming an owner of a basketball team, the Charlotte Hornets. In 2010, it was reported that Jordan had paid the crazy sum of $275 million to Bob Johnson, a former owner of the team. It is also important to note that he had been a minority owner since 2006, and even at that time, he had the final say on all basketball decisions. After becoming the majority owner of the Charlotte Hornets, Jordan said in an interview, "Purchasing the Bobcats, now Hornets, is the culmination of my post-playing career goal of becoming the majority owner of an NBA franchise. I'm especially pleased to have the opportunity to build a winning team in my home state of North Carolina." It, however, came as a shock in 2019 when Jordan sold about 20% of his stake to two investors based in New York, Gabe Plotkin and Daniel Sondheim. Unfortunately, in spite of his experience and brilliance, the Charlotte Hornets have struggled since he took over. Firstly, they haven't particularly done well in the NBA draft picks. They were lucky to secure Kemba Walker in 2011, who was the number 9 overall pick. Unfortunately, the player left for the Boston Celtics at the start of the 2019-2020 season. Even today, the team hasn't still reached the height fans hoped it would reach years ago. Besides Michael Jordan, Shaquille is the only other former NBA player to own a part of an NBA team. Way back in 2013, Big Shaq threw in a few mil in an investment group, and it turned out that this investment group had purchased the Sacramento Kings a while back. This deal gave him 2 to 4% stake in the team. Even though it felt like a meager investment years back, the worth of the team has jumped from $534 million to almost $1 billion since Shaq joined the ownership team. According to Forbes, this would mean that Shaq has made over $11 million in all these years without actually doing so much work. Shaquille is doing very well for himself thanks to his countless gyms located across America, endorsement deals, roles in film and TV, and so on. Perhaps it's time he added some more teams to his portfolio. To a fair extent, Magic Johnson is one of the former NBA stars who owns a team that is incredibly successful. Back in 2012, a major business group bought the LA Dodgers for a record fee of $2.15 billion. Even though he only put up around $50 million, his stake has increased so dramatically that he is one of the figureheads in the organization today. He's been quite important in recruiting free agents, a role he has played very well. Before James LeBron made the decision to own a stake in Major League Baseball, Magic Johnson had been the only former NBA star to do it. However, with James' stake in the Boston Red Sox, he's caught up with a player he once looked up to. This isn't the first and only time Magic Johnson would be investing in a team. In 1994, he bought a 4% stake in the Lakers, a deal which had cost him around $4 million. He got tired of it in 2010 and decided to sell his shares for an undisclosed amount, but some sources were quick to inform us that he had made around the sum of $50 or $60 million in the transaction. Other players like Yao Ming and Tony Parker have bought teams in their home countries. Yao Ming, for instance, bought a major stake in the Shanghai Sharks when he heard that the organization in charge might be folding. This is interesting because it's the team that has given him a start as a pro player. Tony Parker also bought a 20% stake in Asvel in 2009, a team based in France. With the recent purchase of LeBron James, we're pretty confident that several more NBA players will follow suit. So what teams do they have their eyes on? Well, only time will tell. Did you enjoy this video? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we are Courtside.